I'm trying to convince you that even 5-10 minutes is enough time to begin with a practice. Now, understanding that, for only working with 5-10 minute meditation practices, it may take you months to build a foundation. We build foundation one breath at a time, one brick at a time for a house. But if we're going to start on that low end, which is still fine, it's not that you won't experience a benefit today, tomorrow, next week, but to have that strong foundation of sustained change, it's going to take a bit of time. So ideally, you're going to be able to understand why you need to meditate. And each of us are here for a different reason. Some of us are here for physical reasons, mental reasons, emotional reasons, spiritual reasons, whatever that may be. But let that intention of what brings you here be that little flame that keeps your fire burning. A little bit about me when it comes to the meditation journey. I also started using an app, which is how I started. I started with the Headspace app. I began meditating, I would say, roughly 2019, 2020. So it's been about 5.5 years, I would say. And for the first year or so, first year and a half that I started meditating, I didn't know if I was doing it right or wrong. Just follow along with what the app said, followed the instruction, but it's like, is this it? I feel a little bit calmer, feel a bit more quieter, but is that it? I even was fortunate enough, 2020 being the year that the pandemic started, once a week I attended a outdoor seminar session with a Buddhist monk down over in Kothra at the West End Buddhist temple. So once a week, Wednesday evenings, he would host an outdoor lecture and meditation in which you go, you listen to him talk about the Buddha, a discourse, a verse of his teachings, and then you would sit half an hour in silence. And once again, didn't know if I was doing it right or wrong, but breathing, sitting, okay, something's happening. And then the reality of it all is, some of you know, the moment I realized that there was something behind my meditation practice was after a tragedy. I lost my best friend at work from an aneurysm. He was 44, had 2 young kids. And my ability to process my emotions after that loss, to feel them in a very honest way, truthful way, not a repressive way, showed to me that there was something within what I had done in the past 1.5 years of setting that meditation foundation. So as much as, meditation, we sometimes perceive it as a tool to help us relax, to calm down, to quiet down. It is that, and it can be done for that. But if we've started meditation later in life, which is some of the reality for us, I like to say it's like you're looking into your closet with all of your skeletons. And you got a lot of baggage in there. And so what happens with a lot of beginners is that they close their eyes to meditate, and the very first time that they do so, or the very first few times that they do so, instead of the mind getting quieter, it gets louder. Instead of the body feeling calmer, it gets more restless and agitated. And there is this adjustment period of learning to work with the practice. And so a lot of times I'll hear it's like, meditation may be for someone else, but it's not for me because my mind's too busy, my mind's too loud. I can't sit to meditate. I can't sit cross-legged. I can't do what you're asking me to do, so it's not for me. I'll go find something else. And okay, sure. But on one half, you've accepted that the mind is restless, the body is restless, and you've seen the truth of it, but now you're refusing to acknowledge it or work with it. And so you end up going back to what you were doing. And this meditation practice of ours, it's a slow drip. It's a slow drip, it's a slow journey, but it's a journey that provides a return on your investment, could be almost immediately. What we invest within our meditation practice, one is a bit of time, but more importantly than time, it's your attention. Attention is the energy that you commit to your meditation practice. So what are we building our attention around? Attention around our breath. That is the foundation of most of our mindfulness and meditation practices, to be aware of our breathing. Something that's always there, something that's always with you, something that will be with you till you pass away, but something that a lot of us have no relationship to. I say it, we're born on an inhale, we pass away on an exhale. Breath is the first thing that enters you when you're born. It's the last thing that leaves you when you pass away. But few of us, very few of us, have a healthy relationship with our breath. Even a conscious relationship to our breath is what we could say. And so what ends up happening for a lot of individuals is the only time they become aware of their breath is when they're stressed out, when they're angry, when they're anxious, when they're very in heightened emotional states. And the challenge of identifying your breath during those kind of heightened emotional states is that your breath is out of control. You have no idea how to rein in the breath, how to, work with it at that point in time. And one of the things that I like is, a lot of meditation philosophy, a lot of mindfulness practice, they're built on Buddhist principles, Tibetan principles, Tibetan philosophy. And I like the visuals that they use or the stories that they use when it comes to talking about the breath. And, they consider the mind to be like a wild horse. And what we're trying to do within our meditation practice is trying to tame the wild mind, the wild horse that is the mind. And the mind is what is, generating the anxiety, the stress, the tension, and all that kind of stuff. And that relationship between mind and breath it seems distant, but it's very, very close. It's, one end is head, one end is tails. They're inseparable, mind and breath, body and breath, mind and body. These three little things that we will talk about over the weeks. But what we're trying to do when it comes to taming the mind is that we're trying to pave a way for that mind, the wild horse, by using our breath. Smooth breathing, steady breathing, deep breathing, mindful breathing. And if the mind, this horse, can be anchored to the breath, the path, then the horse will walk forward on the path. But every so often, a distraction is going to come up. The body aches, the mind thinks of a memory, it starts to plan into the future, and it's almost like your horse has gone off the beaten path. It's gone off the trail. And that's going to happen time and time again as we build our practices. Happens to me all the time as well. The issue isn't the distraction. It's about being kind to yourself when you get distracted. Definitely, it's about acknowledging the distraction, to notice what it was that got you pulled off the path, and then bringing yourself back onto the path time and time and time again. So I want to do things a little bit differently before I get into my lecturing and my tangents that I usually do. Let's see just how wild our minds are to start. We're going to sit 10 minutes, 15 minutes, that's about it. I'll guide you through it. No expectations of how that goes for you. So don't worry if you end up daydreaming for the 15 minutes that you're closing your eyes. But then we'll reflect a little bit on just how the initial meditation went. So for those of you that are coming back, this will tell me if you've maintained a practice of some sort, or if you're building back your blocks. And then for those of us that are new, that have maybe never meditated before, you can also identify just the monkey mind, is what the Buddhists call it as well, the monkey mind. A mind that is a monkey that is swinging wildly from vine to vine, having been drunk off of wine. So it's loose with all of its inhibitions, and we have to have a watchful eye of this monkey mind. So when it comes to sitting to meditate, although I'm sitting cross-legged, it's entirely up to you how you choose to sit. You can be up against a wall. You can have your legs extended. A more Japanese style of sitting would be to sit on your shins. There are different ways to sit when it comes to meditating. Find the method that works best for you. And for people that are starting off with a meditation practice, the first few times that you sit, 3-5 times that you sit, it's going to be more about you figuring out what works best for your body. When it comes to your hands, they can be on your legs, they can be in your lap. There's mudras that you can use. I don't care. You want to play with your hands, do whatever works best for you. Energy is there, whether it's open palmed, closed palmed, sealed hands, your choice. My main request always is lengthening of the spine. Just physiologically, if we end up meditating like this, we're restricting a lot of energy from flowing freely in the body. So if we need a backrest, if we need the wall to use, that helps. It helps tremendously. And over time, the hope would be is that we have enough strength around the core, enough awareness in the body that we may not need to rely on the wall. But the wall is always there if you need it. So finding that length, and you don't have to sit so upright that you feel forced to do so. Sometimes it's talked about that we want to tune our spine like a guitar string. Too loose and it's not going to make any sound. It's going to end up being floppy. Too tight and it'll snap. So finding that gentle amount of length from the base of your hips to the crown of your head. We can even take a couple of moments here just rolling out the shoulders to see what it feels like to let tension creep into the body, and then see what it feels like to relax tension and release it out of your body. And you can do this a few times, inhaling to like shrug, clench your fist, engage your core, your glutes, exhaling to relax your muscles, to bring softness. And the next time you do this on your breath out, if available to you, please close your eyes. If that feels like a bit of a challenge for you to work with, then by all means, keep your eyes softened. You can just look at a small point on the ground out in front of you. Otherwise, yes, if available to you, please see if your eyes will close and rest. Now, before we even focus on our breathing, let the first minute or so just be dedicated to feeling your body in the seated position. So notice how it feels to sit, whether you've chosen to sit cross-legged, with legs extended, with arms on your legs, with hands in your lap. Just feeling your posture, the positioning of your spine, the openness around your chest, the softness around your shoulders and neck. And if there's any adjustment you may need to make, do so. But as best as you can, do it slowly. Understanding that we have now begun the meditation and mindfulness practice, try to do everything that needs to be done mindfully, with awareness. So that you don't blindly do it or do it out of a reaction, but that you are responding to a stimulus, to a sensation with awareness. And for some of you, this next ask will be a difficult one, but just see how much discipline you can develop. Having established your seated posture, with the idea and understanding that we want this posture to be comfortable, effortless, relatively relaxing. Having understood that, can we try our best to remain in this posture without bringing in any additional movement? So even if something like an itch comes up, trying your best to observe the itch. If an ache comes up in your knee, in your back, observing it, noticing it, working with the facts of what you feel. But if things do start to feel very intense and overwhelming, then please adjust, but once again, mindfully. Now, from this place of awareness, can we bring attention towards our breath at the tip of our nose? We don't have to breathe in any special way. I just want you to feel breath as it travels in through your nose, as it travels out through your nose. You don't need to deepen your breath. You don't need to lengthen your breath. You don't need to force or manipulate your breath. Natural breath. Now, when it comes to working with breath, if you start to lose connection to your breathing, then by all means, deepen the breath, sharpen the breath. Breathe with a bit more energy so you can reconnect to breath. But having established a connection to breath, see how soft you can make your breath. As much as we feel that we are the ones breathing, I just want you to watch the breath as it enters and exits your body. There's no right way to breathe. There's no wrong way to breathe. Your body knows how to breathe. This practice of bringing attention to breath is about keeping attention on the breath. And if you ever do get distracted away from breath, acknowledge the distraction, let it go as best as you can, to then return to your breath as if nothing happened. Whether that distraction comes from a sensation on your body, a thought in your mind, makes no difference whether the distraction is from within you or outside of you. If your body is prone to poor posture, do be mindful, check back in with your body, reestablishing length of your spine, openness of your heart, softening wherever tension may start to creep in. Bringing your full attention back towards the tip of your nose, continuing to breathe, fully aware of the breath as it enters the nose, fully aware as breath exits the nose. Noticing if your mind has wandered away from breath and bringing it back. letting your mind rest on your breath. A breath that is smooth, soft, slow, steady. Like your mind is surfing the waves of the breath. And as we approach the end of this meditation, keep your body soft and relaxed. Try to keep this sense of mindfulness within the body and mind. We can invite some deeper breaths, maybe bring in some gentle movement into the shoulders, into the head, into the neck. You might choose to wiggle out your fingers, your toes, rolling out your wrists. And before we open our eyes, palms can come together as we rub our hands together to create some heat. And allowing for this energy within your palms to wash over your face as you take your time to reopen your eyes. Just over 15 minutes. For some of us, that may have felt like 15 minutes. For some of us, less. For some of us, more. Just take a moment to reflect on those 15 minutes. Doesn't have to be openly said just yet, but just notice. Observe, how did it feel physically to just sit for 15 minutes without trying to move restlessly? How was the experience of either sitting cross-legged or with legs extended to try to keep the body soft and relaxed? How did it feel working with the mind to just keep the mind centered on one object? The object of today's meditation was the breath. To just feel breath as it enters and exits through the nose. Not doing that and something else, but 100% of our attention, energy, awareness to watching breath. Inquire within yourself, when you did get distracted, what distracted you? Was it something within the body? Was it something within the mind? Was it a feeling? Was it a memory? Was it the busyness of your life? And then when you did get distracted, how did you handle the distraction? What was your attitude towards the distraction? Were you able to be kind to yourself that you got distracted, or did that cause more friction within you during the practice? It's very helpful to observe these things because for most of us, they're going to come up again. You're going to sit to meditate again. And if you have some form of chronic injury or you carry tension in the body, likely next time you sit to meditate, you're going to feel that thing in your body again. If your mind is weighed down by stress, responsibility, life, and we don't have a means of processing it or working with it, chances are, once again, you sit to meditate, it's going to come up again. And a big part of this practice is learning how to hold space. As much as we're creating space, what are we creating space for? We're creating space for these things that have always been there. The body's always had these feelings within it. Your knee aches, but when you're busy through your daily life, you don't give any consideration to the knee or the lower back or wherever it may be. Or, you do have the stress of, paying a bill, paying your mortgage, doing this, doing that, planning out the rest of your week, your month, whatever it may be. All that energy, that tension is always there, but for a lot of us, it's underneath the surface of our conscious awareness. So we don't give it all of the energy during our day. But then we're asked to just simply sit and breathe. And as the water on the surface of our mind, like the pond, starts to become a bit more still, we start to notice all of these things surfacing up. And that's what I typically say when a lot of beginners begin a practice like this. That's their first time that they've actually given some awareness, some attention to all of these skeletons, all of this baggage that has always been there. And it's very overwhelming for some of us. Some of us, we just carry the regular stress and weight of life. And we're fortunate that it's just the typical stress. But others might have had traumatic experiences, some horrible experiences that have impacted who and what they are today. And when they sit to meditate, it is a lot more difficult to deal with some of that. It's not to say that the benefits of this practice aren't available to them as well. But it may take a lot more work, a lot more compassion and kindness towards what has brought you to where you are today. Does anybody want to share some of the distractions that may have come up? Or just a general reflection on your experience itself within those 15 minutes?
I found myself worrying about the kids here and there. This kid needs to be here at a certain time, this kid is coming up, so then taking a moment to say, okay, but I can get that out of my mind for now.
And when it came to thinking about your kids, could you feel it within your body as well? Could you feel some of that tension?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's why I get neck and shoulder pain. So much.
So I'll share a story about that. So my very first time going to my silent meditation retreat, and those of you that are new, once a year I attend it's known as a Vipassana, Vipassana. It's a form of meditation, but it's a 10-day silent meditation retreat in which you give up your phone, so no access to the outside world, and no talking, no reading, no writing, no listening to music, no exercising for 10 days. Just outside of Innisfil, just south of Barrie. There's centers around the world, although half of them are in India, but we're fortunate, very fortunate, that there is a center just north of Toronto. And so long story short, I won't even talk about the structure of the retreat right now, since some of you know and some of you doesn't apply, but I believe it was like day 2 or 3 for me. Prior to going to the retreat, my mom was supposed to go in for a surgery. It's supposed to be like a minor surgery. I believe it's like for varicose veins or something like that. But day 2 or 3 comes up and that thought pops up in my head while I'm sitting and meditating. It's like, oh, I think my mom's surgery was today or yesterday. I wonder how it went. Thought comes up, start to entertain the thought, and then the rabbit hole starts. I wonder if she died on the operating table. If she died on the operating table, how's my dad doing? How's my grandma doing? How is my family doing? And all I'm doing physically is sitting. But internally, I feel heat building up inside of me. I feel my stomach turning. I feel my heart rate beating faster. But from the outside looking in, you would think, oh, that guy's just meditating. He looks so peaceful, looks so calm. Inside, I'm going to war with myself. I'm having all of these chaotic emotions inside of me. There's literally like a tornado of just all of this nonsense coming up. And eventually I just like took a step back. I was like, whoa, whether or not something has happened, what I am feeling right now is me doing it to myself. So whether or not my mom's surgery went well or didn't go well at all, I have no idea of knowing, but everything that I am feeling is a result of my mind. All the heaviness, all the heat, all of the heart rate beating, the tension, the knots in the stomach, the physical symptoms of what my mind is thinking are being manifested in my body. And that was a really interesting experience of just having to take that step back to say, okay, in this moment right now, like this isn't helping me. I'm here to sit, I'm here to breathe, but my mind has disappeared. It ran away into this fantasy world of what happened. And I came to find out when I finished that the surgery got canceled, so nothing happened. And so that's the whole thing, right? That the mind creates all of these stories within it. And the story feels so real. It's like a really good movie, you know? Sometimes there's thrillers, horrors, rom-coms, and whatever it is. And in this case, I was going through like a thriller in my mind. And this thriller was completely fake because the surgery never happened. And in that sense of you having to worry about a certain thing. And you know, it comes from a very genuine place. You know, I love my mom, so naturally I want the surgery to go well, but whether the surgery went well or not, I have no control over. So what meditation teaches us as a tool is the only thing that we can control are our actions, how we act. How we act mentally with our thoughts, how we act vocally with our words, how we act physically with our actions. And in that sense, I was acting very mindlessly in that moment. I was tasked with sitting and breathing for an hour. And during that journey, a thought came up. And it's like a split second for a thought to enter the mind. And the mind gets so hooked onto the thought, it like watched the trailer, and now it wants to watch the whole movie. And it made up this crazy movie that never existed. It was just a fantasy. And so each of us probably have things like that happen, of one little thing being spiraled into 15 other things. And meditation is used as the tool to say, whoa, pause, stop, take a step back. Whoa, what's happening? If it is truly an important thought or something that is pressing on your mind, what I'll typically say within a meditation practice is like literally pause the practice of your meditation. If it is a very pressing thought, write it down for a moment. Write it down so that when you finish your meditation, you can come back to it. I joke that sometimes you'll have the best idea in the whole wide world that comes up while you meditate. And you don't want to forget it. Maybe it is something important that you have to do later. So open your eyes, have that pen and paper or whatever it is that you're doing. Ideally, you don't go back to your phone because then who knows what happens. You know, it slips away so fast. But you write it down. And taking that, 30-second window to do that will save you then the 3 minutes of having to flip-flop back and forth between, okay, do I indulge this thought or do I let it go? What can I do? Because we have it put off to the side and it can be attended to once we finish up. So that's one way to approach that. And thank you for sharing about just that feeling of a stress, a responsibility that is very real, but we have to understand that when we are sitting here, this is a really honest and truthful form of self-care. And all we're trying to ask ourselves today was 15 minutes of self-care in this moment. To take care of our mental health, our physical health, by just pressing pause on all of the stress and responsibility of our daily life. And it's not to say that we're ignoring it, but we understand that that can wait 15 minutes. If you can't prioritize your own mental health, your physical well-being for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, then you really have to evaluate where all that time and energy is going. So thank you for sharing. Yes?
You made me think of, I had to pull it out because when you were talking, I thought this, and this made me really think. It was a quote I saw. It said, if you can overthink the worst, why can't you overthink the best? I'm so good at overthinking the worst, right? Like I never overthink the best. Like, instead of worrying about what could go wrong, why don't we ever go, imagine if it all went right? And like, we don't go down that rabbit hole, right? Which I think was very interesting, so I want to share that, which is why I pulled up my phone. But as a returning person here, I thought, so when I did it, I remember when I first came here and I said, you're like, why are you here? And I was like, because I need to stop my thoughts. I have too many thoughts. And so what I learned in this practice when we started again, because it was like starting again, was it's not about stopping the thoughts, it's limiting the thoughts. You always talked about you have about 10 thoughts a minute, or no, 6 thoughts? What?
10, one thought every 6 to 7 seconds, and
I had thoughts.
Yeah.
My mind drifted, right? Because it's hard not for it to drift, but I was more in control of it, right? Where before my thought would lead to another thought and I would spiral. I had a thought, I'm like, okay, yeah, but we gotta get back to this. And I was more in control, whereas I feel like the last time I started this session, I was not in control, which felt really good.
That's progress. That's progress on the path.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of that comes from building a more mature relationship to your mind, in which we just never had that relationship before to the mind. And now you're able to, one, you can come to understand the value of your meditation practice. So when a thought does come up, you're like, no, this right now is more valuable of being with my breath than indulging a thought. So I'm able to set that thought aside to come back to my practice. And that coming back to your practice allows you to create more space. So like you said, it's not about stopping the thoughts, but for many of us, even though it's invisible space, for a lot of us, your thoughts, if they are my hands, are here. So all you see when you close your eyes are your thoughts. Like there's filters, like I can't see Noreen fully in front of me because my fingers, being all my thoughts, are blocking me. And these thoughts are still going to be there. Let's consider each finger and a thumb to be a thought. But as we work with a stronger meditation practice, thoughts are still there, but now they're out here. So we've created mental space. It's not about, ignoring them, but you've built up, whether you want to call it like a fence, so you have a bit more autonomy, you have a bit more, garden space to work with instead of these being like the weeds that I've talked about. We have to pull out the weeds to make space for the garden. We've now created a more beautiful garden so that the thoughts don't come and intrude in. The thoughts are still there. They're still there. But if somebody is screaming in your face here, it's very loud. You're going to have no choice but to react because it's very disruptive. Versus if somebody were screaming, same volume, same intensity, but they were outside of this room, we could dismiss it a bit more because we have this space here for ourselves. And it's that same idea with meditation. There are probably going to be very similar triggers that generate your thoughts and your feelings, and may vary day to day, but understanding that for a lot of us, they're this close to our face. So we are smothered by our thoughts. And as we develop a stronger practice, we build up, I don't want to say walls, because that feels very isolationist. It's not a wall, but it's, you set up a boundary of some sort. You're able to map out this space that was so smothered before, but now we've cleared it up, so it's more spacious. But that's one way to look at it. Thoughts are always going to be there. The mind's job is to think. It's to solve problems, identify problems, figure things out. And the counterintuitive thing about our meditation practice is that there's nothing to figure out. That we're just here. And in this very simple moment, we can do something very special by just breathing and sitting. And it takes a lot of convincing for the mind to actually get along with that thought process. But there's something very powerful there over time. And like I said, it doesn't happen right away. So this whole feeling of now being able to put it into perspective of how you felt back in September.
Oh, I was a mess. I couldn't, it was
Write a testimonial for me.
Snap baby, no, I'm just kidding. No, I couldn't stop my thoughts. It was a mile a minute. And just having that control is great. I also think I just have more respect for myself, my breath. I've never respected breath more, and what a gift it is. So I think when you start cherishing it, it changes how you feel.
And you'll learn more about breath in our Mindful Book Club. So
I'll
plug that in. I'll plug it in after. But if anybody's interested, So if anybody's interested, I'm starting a book club. It's the Mindful Book Club. The first book will be Breath, 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 literally spelled breath, by an author, journalist named James Nestor. Idea being, we'll start reading the book roughly around January 18th, so this Sunday. I'll be sending some guided reflection questions along the way, and then hope to meet end of February, first week of March, just depending on scheduling of people, whether they're able to attend virtually or in person, to then have a final discussion, conversation, reflection on the book. So if you're interested, I'll mention that at the end. Anybody else want to share anything? There's no Sandra first and then, rock, paper, scissors if you want. Sandra, go ahead.
So I had an annoying and an interesting meditation. So I decided to try cross-legged, and
You're usually straight-legged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got pretty far, and I was breathing into my knee and my foot, but then I ended up having to stretch out because my leg fell asleep. So annoying. But interesting, I kind of visualized myself floating. And that's never happened before, where I was sort of seeing myself almost like on a tabletop that was sort of raising. And I just let that go, and I don't know whether that was a bad thought, a good thought, or just creating space. It was interesting.
Thought is thought, right?
It was just weird.
Because who knows, next time...
Cross-legged, I was like, oh, that's weird.
You don't want, and the reason why I just want to say thought is, if we associate that as good thought, and the next time you sit to meditate and for some reason you start sinking, what are we going to do with that thought then, right? It's your mind is going to, me personally, I don't give too much credence towards, seeing colors and all that. Some people do, and it's there, but your mind ultimately is then what decides if these things are good or bad, right or wrong, and that just becomes another form of thought. Thought on an experience, which is just, we talk about experience as being something impermanent. Impermanent in nature, as in it comes up, it goes. And even us, on a cosmic scale, we rise, we fall. We're like a wave. And, there's nothing inherently wrong with saying, I sat to meditate, I saw purples and blues, and I felt so, high and lifted by that experience. But, okay, now what if you don't like the color yellow, and the next time you sit, you start seeing the color yellow? It's the mind plays very interesting tricks. And so, at least when we're setting up this initial foundation of our practice, we work with only the facts. And the fact is, when it comes to breathing, we're breathing in and we feel the breath as it comes in. We breathe out and we feel the breath as it goes out. We work with the facts of our distractions. If it is a pleasant thought that comes up, could be a memory, could be, whatever it is. If it's a pleasant thought that comes up, identify it as being a pleasant thought. You don't have to go into the weeds of what made it pleasant or get hitched on that train. And then likewise, if it's an unpleasant thought, identify it as such. If it is a pleasant feeling in the body, you feel tingles, you feel light, we would associate that as something good. We identify it, a pleasant feeling has come up. But understanding the pleasant feeling, noticing the pleasant feeling, I come back to my breath. If it's an unpleasant feeling, we have to work with the facts. The knee aches, okay, the knee has surfaced with an unpleasant sensation. And we can try to, if we're very mindful with our words, we can create space with them as well. So instead of, my knee is hurting, we've identified with the knee, we've attached ourselves with the knee, and now anything the knee feels, I feel. As opposed to taking this step away, the knee has started to feel something. The knee has surfaced with an unpleasant sensation. And then, okay, a little bit of space is there, and we can work mindfully to observe if it'll change. And if it doesn't, then we mindfully adjust to alleviate the suffering of the knee, of ourselves, so that we can come back to a smooth and effortless meditation. Thank you for sharing. Jude?
Well, for me, being the first time, quite frankly, 13 years ago, I would never be able to do this. The thoughts, the stress, I always had to be in control, so any thought, I would look at the worst case scenario and get ready as to what to do to take care of it if it reached that scenario. So it gave me a sense of comfort that I could handle it. The best case scenario was always great, but we always think of the worst. But now I can at least, because there's a whole world of mine that's not related to me anymore, so that's great. To your point, this is generally, I feel, better in a group setting, because if I was on my own, maybe 10 minutes I would have done it and I would have said, no, okay, that's it, I did it. Yeah. But I think here, the dedication, the commitment to the Vana, and you get more. And I've always been known as a worrying dad. Irrespective of what's happening, everything's great. I'm thinking of the worst case scenario for my kids, everything. And so hopefully in time, like her, I'll be able to departmentalize and just think of the moment. Like your case, your mom's surgery, I would have already had solutions once I got out, what I would have done and how I would have taken care of Dad if the worst had happened, and it just would have gone on.
Yeah.
So from this, I'm hoping to just departmentalize, and of course now the stress is not there, those things are not there, a whole part of my world is out, but hopefully it will do me good here and much quicker.
Yeah, it's I think just echoing that point where we have this tendency to expect the worst or to anticipate for the worst or prepare for the worst. It feels so foreign to try to flip the script and be like, okay, well, what if the best happens? It's like, do we not deserve the best? And it's, it's this very simple mindset shift, but it's a very strange mindset shift, because the mind is like driven towards like chaos. And chaos comes from, the spiraling thoughts, the worst case scenarios, because for a lot of us, peace is rarely found internally. And so we have to be able to try to create these mindset shifts of, okay, instead of doubling down on worst case scenarios, what if the best case scenario happens? Or what if just nothing happens? And nothing changing is still something that is better than all the worst things happening. So it takes time, but these are, I think, like you just said, the group environment helps. It doesn't matter whether you share or not. I'm not forcing you to open your mouth, but I need at least one understanding to be made. It's a lot of people, when they come to meditate, they present me with their excuses as if they are the only ones that suffer from those issues. The distracted mind, the aching body, the busy life, whatever it is, the stress and responsibility. But one of the beauties of being able to work together and practice together, even though we all have our own challenges, we're all on our own journey when our eyes are closed. We're all dealing with our own aches and pains, our distractions, and the monkey mind. Everybody's got a different monkey, everybody's got a different horse, whatever animal you want to use. But there are common things that bind us together, and being able to find those little dots that connect us to one another is very helpful. It eases the misery when we are able to notice that it's not just me that suffers from this, or it's, this isn't just a me problem, it's a universal problem, because we all have a mind. Does that make sense? So then my ask is this. If you only come to meditate once a week with me, you're very unlikely to be able to sustain the benefit of this 1 hour for the next 6 days and 23 hours until we meet again. Whether that's 5 minutes for you, whether that's 10 minutes for you. We did 15 minutes today, so for some of us, maybe 15 minutes was a bit too long, who knows? You might be choosing to sit in a chair when you practice at home. I don't frown on laying down. My main thing with laying down is that most people have the tendency to fall asleep. So some of us don't, and that's great. But some of us, we lay down and it's associated with falling asleep. So your meditation turns into a napitation turns into snoritation is what I say. And here I can nudge you to wake you up. At home, you're gonna be out for a little bit. So that may be what your body needs, but we're trying our best to balance this act of keeping the body soft, relaxed, still, while keeping the mind engaged, sharp, and attentive. And it's a very hard balancing act because the mind wants to drift into the softness of the body. And I've seen it myself where people start meditating like this, and then slowly Slowly. And I've seen it where it's like completely here. I've been here before as well in my own meditations, where I'm completely hunched over and you're in this like half awake, half asleep phase. And it's normal. This happens. These are the growing pains and adjustments that we got to work with. But that would be my ask. It's at the end of this day, I will end up uploading this, and I'll probably cut out the 15-minute guided part that we did. So on my YouTube channel, you can follow along if you need that. Whether you have your Calm app, whether you have your different app, or whether you just set a timer for 15 minutes, just simply close your eyes and be with your breath. Whatever happens, happens, and you can always journal it down during or after, so that you can notice, I sat for 15 minutes, this is where I sat, how was my state of mind, how did my body feel, what time of day did I meditate, just these very simple things that you can do for yourselves so that you can build your own sense of awareness on when your meditations feel good, when they may not feel so good, and what we can learn to do as we grow throughout these next 9 weeks. I don't have anything else to say for today. We've talked a little bit about meditation. We did a 15-minute meditation and we shared, so that's wonderful. If you do have any other questions, feel free to ask me afterwards. But otherwise, thank you all for coming today. We'll pick this up again next week. Yeah.